that's cage diving. That's so dangerous. Telephone, control that from us.
Está bien.
Oh, Dorian, put some volume so you can hear what they're saying. Did you know that, Baba, great orcas, they hunt great white sharks and they eat them? Did you know that? It's okay.
Yes.
You know what they eat? Only the liver, nothing else.
Bent sideways, one curving left, one curving right, like the masts of a ship that has just battled through a 100-year storm. The tourists reach for their cameras. The guides recognize those fins immediately, and the guides go very quiet, because they know those fins mean every great white shark within a mile of that boat just became the least dangerous thing in the water. The two orcas had been seen in South African waters before. First spotted near Luderitz in 2009, they'd become recognizable to local researchers because of those dorsal fins, a rare deformity where the fin collapses to one side instead of standing upright. One bent left, one bent right. A whale-watching guide named Dave Hurwitz gave them their names. Port and starboard, nautical terms for the left and right side of a vessel. It fit. Orcas, killer whales, are not rare in South African waters. What was unusual about port and starboard wasn't where they were. It was what they were doing, or more precisely, what they were leaving behind. For context, an orca is not a whale in the way most people picture a whale. It's the largest member of the dolphin family. An adult male can reach 26 feet in length,
whales or
roughly the
orcas?
size of a city bus, and weigh up to 6 tons. They are warm-blooded, highly social, and operate in coordinated groups with communication patterns so complex that different populations have been described as having distinct cultures, distinct dialects. They are also, without much debate, the apex predator of every ocean on Earth. Not a contender, the apex. Great white sharks. The animal that has terrorized human imagination for half a century will flee an area entirely if they detect orca presence. Port and starboard knew this. What nobody knew yet was how far they intended to take it. The first real clue came from a marine biologist named Alison Koch, working with South African national parks. In 2015, divers sent her photographs of smaller shark carcasses on the sea floor. 7-gill sharks, broad, powerful animals that themselves rank as apex predators in their own right. But these carcasses had something strange about them. Incisions, clean, precise cuts near the pectoral fins. The tissue around them peeled back, like something had known exactly where to press. It looked so surgical from the photographs, Koch said later, that I first assumed it must have been done by somebody with a knife. Nobody had used a knife. 2 orcas had gone under her research boat the same afternoon she found a fresh carcass. It was, in her words, a light bulb moment. Then, starting in early 2017, great white sharks began washing ashore near Gansbaai. A staggering total of 5 between February and June, ranging from 12 to 16 feet long, mature adults, not juveniles. Each one had been opened near the pectoral girdle. Each one was missing its liver. Nothing else had been touched. The liver of a great white shark can weigh over 300 pounds. It makes up roughly a quarter of the shark's entire body weight, packed with lipids and energy-dense oils. Think of it as the shark's battery pack, the organ that lets it regulate buoyancy, sustain long migrations, and store the caloric reserves it needs to survive between kills. Somebody, something, had located that battery pack through skin and muscle and bone, removed it with precision, and left the rest on the seafloor.
So smart.
Alison Towner, a marine biologist at Dyer Island Conservation Trust, led the team that examined those carcasses. Her findings, published in the journal Ecology in 2022, confirmed what the evidence had been suggesting. Port and starboard were hunting great white sharks, and they had developed a technique for doing it that nobody had ever documented before. What that technique actually looks like is stranger than most people expect. Orcas are known to hunt sharks. That part isn't new. What's documented in other parts of the world involves groups of orcas working together, surrounding a shark, disorienting it, wearing it down over time. Cooperative predation. It makes sense given how formidable a large shark is as a target. Port and starboard don't do it that way. What researchers pieced together from necropsy data, drone footage, and eyewitness accounts describes something closer to a specific, repeatable procedure. One orca approaches the shark head-on. The other positions near the shark's flank. Then one of them grips the shark's pectoral fin, the long side fins that give the great white much of its directional control, and inverts it, flips it upside down. When a shark is turned upside down, something neurological happens. The animal enters a state called tonic immobility, a kind of paralysis, a shutdown, that researchers believe may be an involuntary stress response. The shark goes still. Its muscle contractions stop. It can't right itself. In the water, fully inverted, a 600-pound great white becomes, for a brief window, completely inert. That's the window port and starboard use. One orca holds the shark in position. The other locates the pectoral girdle, the internal skeletal structure connecting the pectoral fins to the body, and applies pressure. The body opens. The liver is extracted. The whole sequence, in documented cases, takes under 2 minutes. To put that in terms that land differently, the ocean's most feared predator, an animal that can detect a single drop of blood in 25 gallons of water, is rendered motionless and surgically disassembled in the time it takes to make a cup of coffee. In May 2022, a drone operator captured the first confirmed aerial footage of port and starboard performing this predation off Mossel Bay. Starboard was identified as the primary hunter. The footage exists. The sequence is documented. Then, in June 2023, Starboard did something that changed the analysis entirely. He hunted a juvenile great no port, no assistance. A 2.5 meter shark, about 8 feet, incapacitated and killed in just over 2 minutes. Starboard was later observed carrying the shark's liver past a research vessel. Solo predation on great white sharks had never been recorded in any orca population anywhere in the world. Port and starboard hadn't just learned a technique. One of them had refined it to the point where he no longer needed a partner. But the question of what this was doing to the coastline around them, that answer was already visible. Had been visible for years. By 2017, great white sharks had essentially disappeared from False Bay.
How's the guy on the